Rain tapped against the windshield, like it was trying to remind me I was still sitting there, stuck in park outside my house, hands gripping the steering wheel tighter than I meant to. I could still hear Cheryl's voice in my head, cold, clipped, distracted, reliable, but not quite leadership material. That was her feedback. After 5 damn years of cleaning up every fire in that building, after saving her ass more times than I could count, she skimmed my 30-page proposal and hit me with that. My name's Eric. I'm 38 years old. I live in Dayton, Ohio. And today, I realized I've been invisible in my own career. While you're listening, tell us which country you're watching from. She barely looked up when she said it, eyes flicking down to her phone like I was wasting her time. I didn't argue, I didn't flinch, I just smiled the way I always do when someone steps on me and said, "Got it." Then I walked out of that conference room while she was already tapping out some email like I hadn't spent a month building that project from scratch. My shirt was still sticking to my back from the stress sweat when I pulled into the driveway. It was early. I never get home before 5, but today I couldn't stomach going back. Inside, Logan was hunched over the dining table, gluing something onto a foam board, his science project. I forgot it was due this week. He looked up. "Why are you home now?" I blinked. The question hit harder than it should have. My kid was surprised to see me in my own house. I forced a smile, tossed my keys in the bowl by the door, and looked over at my work phone, blinking on the counter like a damn lighthouse. Unread messages piling up. Right then, I made 2 decisions. First, that hunting trip I had planned with the guys next month, canceled. I wasn't going to keep missing time with Logan for people who thought I was just reliable. Second, the daily ops logs I've written every single day for 5 years. The ones that made Cheryl's job run smooth, the ones nobody else touches, I'm done writing them. Let them figure out what it takes to keep this place running. I've carried this building long enough. Time to see what happens when I stop cleaning up behind everyone else. I opened the fridge, grabbed a Coke, and asked Logan what his project was about. He smiled wide. "It's about how systems fail if one part stops working." Yeah, no kidding. Logan was still talking about gears and levers when I walked out the door the next morning. He asked if I'd be home for dinner. I told him, yeah, I will, and meant it. Pulled into the lot at exactly 8:58. Sat in my truck for 1 minute, and walked in at 9 o'clock sharp. No early prep, no overnight crisis triage, no checking systems before my coffee. I did exactly what my job required, nothing more. Sat at my desk, opened my inbox, 12 emails flagged urgent. Not one was addressed to me directly. Forwarded, CC'd, roped in out of habit. I clicked mark as read on all of them. That alone felt like taking a brick off my chest. At 9:42, Blake from sales came stumbling over, all red in the face and waving a printout like it was on fire. "Hey man, that shipment to the Atlanta site is off by 2 days. Cheryl said you could expedite." "Not anymore," I said, not even turning from my screen. "That's procurement now. Talk to Gina." He stood there like he didn't understand English. "But I don't usually do anything anymore unless it's in my job description." "Talk to procurement." He blinked. "You serious?" I finally looked up. "Blake, I've been fixing your messes for how long now? You're a grown man. Handle your side." He walked off like someone kicked his puppy. Didn't take long for Cheryl to notice. She passed by around 11 and actually stopped mid-stride, did a half step back like something was off. "You good?" she asked. "I'm great," I said, eyes on my screen, fingers steady. "Just doing my job." She watched me a second longer, probably waiting for some sign I was being sarcastic or bitter, or about to unload. But I wasn't. I was calm, focused. For the first time in years, I wasn't scrambling to save anyone's tail. When 5 o'clock hit, I logged off, shut down, and walked out the front door. No lingering, no, just one more thing. I'd never realized how loud that office was until I stopped trying to control every part of it. All that noise? Most of it wasn't even mine to fix. At home, Logan was setting up pots and pans on the stove, like he was about to film his own cooking show. I'd promised him chili, so that's what we did. I chopped onions while he handled the meat. He asked me questions about cayenne versus chili powder, like I was some Food Network guy, and I just rolled with it. We joked about his science teacher, talked football, even debated whether beans belong in chili. First time in months, I wasn't half thinking about emails while he was talking. First time, I actually heard him. Later, I crashed hard. Head hit the pillow, and I was out cold. No 2 a.m. alerts, no spreadsheets swirling in my brain. Just quiet. The kind of sleep you get when your shoulders aren't bracing for the next hit. The next morning, I didn't dread getting up. That was new. By Tuesday, the cracks were showing. Procurement missed a supplier deadline, one I used to babysit. A glitch hit 2 tracking systems I'd quietly patched together over the years. And the Darwell account, our biggest, loudest, most detail-obsessed client, started pinging with questions no one could answer. Nobody had touched the ops map for that account since I built it. And now, everyone was acting like it had just disappeared. At 10:13, Cheryl showed up at my desk with her usual fake calm. "Hey, where's the ops map for Darwell?" she asked, holding a coffee she hadn't taken a sip of. Her voice was tight. I didn't even swivel my chair. "Shared drive. ops_accounts_master.xlsx should be right at the top." She hovered. "Which file exactly?" I glanced over, saw her squinting at the sea of documents, hundreds of them, stuff I'd labeled, filed, versioned, kept alive. "It's the one with the green tag. Named exactly like I said. All the tabs are organized by region." She didn't say thanks, just stood there for a beat longer, maybe waiting for me to rescue her again. I turned back to my screen. I had a compliance audit due Friday. That was my job. Not hers, not the company's, mine. So I stayed in my lane and kept typing. That night, I left work at 5, ate leftovers with Logan, then read a book while he worked on a poster for school. I checked my phone once around 10. 63 missed calls, half from Cheryl, the rest from team leads, and one from Frank's assistant. I plugged the phone into the charger and left it on the nightstand. Wednesday was chaos. Darwell's whole account was on fire. Delivery confusion, no visibility into process flow, client services in full meltdown. People were pacing the hall like it was a hospital waiting room, and I was in the break room making coffee, watching it all unravel. I wasn't smiling, I wasn't gloating, I was just done. I'd built the machine, they'd ignored the operator. Now they were figuring out how loud silence could be. By Thursday morning, Cheryl's assistant came by and said, "Hey, Frank wants to see you in boardroom C." I didn't ask why, just grabbed my coffee and went. Frank was there already, sleeves rolled, tie loosened. Cheryl stood by the whiteboard with a chart half drawn, face tight. "Eric," Frank said, motioning to the chair across from him. "We need to talk about Darwell." I nodded. "Yeah, I figured." He leaned forward. "We need you to take point, immediately. No one else knows the system like you. You're the only one who can stabilize this." I didn't answer right away. I just sat there, letting the silence stretch a little longer than normal. Then I said, "I'll help, but I need to be honest about something." Frank blinked. Cheryl shifted. "I've had a recruiter from Highmark Consulting reach out," I said. "They made an offer. Better pay, more authority. They know what I bring to the table." Frank leaned back. Cheryl's mouth opened, then shut. "I haven't said yes," I added, "but I'm seriously considering it." Frank looked at me for a long second. "What would it take to keep you?" I shrugged. "Depends who's actually paying attention now." That was the thing. I didn't bring up the offer to play games. I brought it up because I was tired of acting like loyalty and silence were the same thing. One gets you respect, the other gets you forgotten. Frank looked at Cheryl, then back at me. "Let's not make any decisions today. Can you keep Darwell afloat for now?" "I'll keep it from sinking," I said, standing up. "But I'm not throwing myself overboard this time." I walked out of that boardroom and didn't look back. Let them sweat. I'd already proven what I could do. The question now was what they'd do without me. The next morning, Frank called me in again. Same boardroom, different vibe. He looked calm, but I saw it, that tightness around the mouth, the way his jaw worked a little when I sat down. He wasn't expecting yesterday's bomb. Cheryl was already there, all fake smiles and forced warmth. "Eric," she said, like we were old friends who used to grab drinks after work. "Thanks again for stepping in on Darwell." I didn't nod. I didn't smile. I just opened the folder I brought and slid it across the table. Frank paused mid-sentence and stared at it. "What's this?" "My 2 weeks," I said, flat. "Highmark Consulting made me an offer. Real title, real money, full control. I'm not bluffing and I'm not begging." He opened the folder, read the top line, then looked up. "Come with me," he said, already rising from his chair. Cheryl's face twitched, tight around the eyes, like she just swallowed a handful of nails. We walked to his office. He shut the door behind us. Didn't sit. Just leaned against the desk and looked right at me. "I didn't know you got passed over," he said. "If I had, things would have gone differently." "Maybe," I said. "But they didn't." He nodded once, like he respected that I didn't let him off the hook. "I've been watching your numbers for over a year. I know what you've built. You're one of the few people who actually make this place work." He straightened up, opened his drawer, pulled out a file. "I can offer you Director of Systems, starting Monday. Double your current pay, full decision-making power over ops, direct report to me. No more going through Cheryl." I didn't say anything right away. I wanted to. God, I wanted to say yes on the spot. But after 5 years of being overlooked, stepped around, and used up, I wasn't about to jump just because someone finally noticed. He kept going. "This isn't a gesture. It's recognition. You've been running the engine without the title. I'm just giving you the keys." Now I sat down across from him, elbows on my knees. "You're telling me I can build the systems how I want, hire who I want, restructure where needed?" "As long as results follow," he said. "You'll have a long leash, but it's still a leash." I nodded. Fair enough. "And Cheryl?" I asked. "She's in client strategy now. And you won't be answering to her?" Of course she was. Back where she could charm and spin, not where she could break things. I leaned back in the chair, folded my arms. "I'll think about it over the weekend." He raised an eyebrow. "You're still leaning toward Highmark?" "I'm leaning toward what doesn't waste me." That landed. He didn't argue, just handed me the official offer sheet. "You've earned this, Eric. Take the weekend. Monday morning, let me know I stood, took the folder, and walked out without shaking his hand. When I passed Cheryl's office, she looked up fast, like she'd been waiting to see which direction I was headed. I didn't stop. I didn't nod. Just kept walking. Let her wonder. I had decisions to make. I walked straight to my truck, tossed the folder in the passenger seat, and drove home without turning on the radio. Just the sound of the tires and my brain grinding. Frank wanted an answer Monday. He'd get one. Saturday, Logan and I hit the high school football game. Cold bleachers, marching band too loud, overpriced hot dogs. But the kid was beaming the whole time. He kept yelling plays like he was the coach. I just sat back, soaked it in. First time in a long time where I didn't feel the itch to check my phone. That night, after Logan crashed on the couch mid-replay, I called my older brother, Dave. He answered on the second ring. "You sound like hell," he said. "Long week," I told him. "Got a job offer." "Another one?" "Yeah. This one's from inside. Director role, real authority, good money. Report straight to the VP." He whistled. "About damn time." I paused. "Thing is, I don't know if I want it." There was a silence on the line. Then he said, "Let me guess. Cheryl's still there." "Yep." Another pause. Then he hit me with it. "Do you want revenge or a clean break?" That question stopped me cold. I didn't answer him right away. We talked a little more, then hung up. But that line kept ringing in my head. It wasn't about revenge. I didn't want Cheryl gone. I didn't need to see her fall. What I wanted, what I needed, was to change how the whole damn place worked. No more propping up weak leadership. No more rewarding silence. I wanted to fix what was broken, not torch it and walk away. Monday morning, I showed up before 7. Office was still quiet, lights low. I sat outside Frank's office until he came in, coffee in hand, eyebrows raised when he saw me. "You're early," he said, unlocking his door. "I've got your answer." He motioned for me to come in. I shut the door behind me and sat across from his desk, hands steady. "I'll take the job," I said, "on 2 conditions." He nodded, waiting. 1, I get hiring control. My team, my structure, no interference, done, he said. And 2, Cheryl stays. That made him blink. "You're serious?" "I'm not here to settle a score," I said. "I'm here to fix the rot." He looked at me for a long second, then slowly nodded. "You think you can change it?" "I know I can." He reached into his drawer, pulled out the formal paperwork, and slid it across the desk. "Let's do it then." I signed without hesitating. Frank stood and offered his hand. I shook it, firm, clean, no words needed. By the time I left his office, the building was starting to wake up. Emails buzzing, phones ringing, same old noise. But it didn't feel the same anymore. This time, I wasn't cleaning up. This time, I was in charge of what came next. By 10 o'clock that morning, the company-wide email went out. Subject line: New Director of Systems, effective immediately. My name, my title, my role. All in bold. Sent by Frank himself. First came the pop-ups, then the knock-knock drive-bys. People who hadn't said more than "hey" in the hallway for 5 years were suddenly popping their heads in with forced smiles and phrases like, "long overdue," or "finally someone who gets it." Even Deb from accounting, who once called me ops guy in front of a client, asked if we could schedule a sit-down. I just said, "maybe next week," and kept walking. I passed Blake near the vending machines. He straightened up quick, like a kid caught ditching class. "Hey, He scratched the back of his neck. "So, does this mean you're my boss now?" I looked at him. "That depends." "You still expecting me to fix your job for you?" His face turned red, and he gave a weak laugh. "Fair." I didn't smile back. Back at my new desk, same spot, new nameplate, I was going through system maps when Cheryl walked up, binder in hand. She didn't say hi, just set it down on my desk. "You'll need this for tomorrow's exec brief," she said, voice tight as ever. The binder was thick, her usual style, color tabs, full of charts and spin. I closed it with one hand. "Thanks." She didn't move, just stood there a second longer, arms crossed, tapping a nail against her elbow. Then she said it. "I didn't block your promotion because you weren't good enough." That made me look up. "I just couldn't afford to lose you," she said, eyes fixed somewhere past me. I pushed back from my desk and stood up. Not in a rush, not heated, just level. "That's not leadership," I said. "That's fear." She flinched like I'd slapped her, but I didn't raise my voice. Didn't need to. "People like you keep the ship running," she muttered, more to herself than me. "You don't build those from scratch every year." "No," I said, "you don't. That's why they promote them. Or lose them." She didn't answer, just nodded once, tight, and walked off without another word. It didn't feel like a win. It felt like finally hearing the quiet part out loud. I spent the rest of the day putting pieces in motion, booking meetings with people who'd been buried in admin for years, reviewing contracts I hadn't had access to before, and flagging 3 system gaps I'd called out months ago that were still sitting unresolved. By 4, I had my own team folder open with a new name at the top. Systems Rebuild, Phase 1. It wasn't just a title anymore. It was a weapon, a way to build something better, smarter, stronger. And this time, I wasn't asking permission. The next morning, I opened a fresh doc titled Systems Rebuild, Phase 1, poured a black coffee, and got to work. By noon, I'd already flagged 4 people in the company who had been buried for years. Sharp minds stuck under layers of process and politics. I wasn't hiring new bodies. I was digging talent out of the rubble. One guy, Isaac, came from tech support. Mid-30s, quiet, fast. The kind of guy who always knew the workaround but never got invited to the fix-it meetings. I looped him in on a report overhaul, and by day 3, he was slicing through data problems our previous consultants had let fester for months. "Why aren't you running your own team?" I asked him. He shrugged. "I just fix what breaks." "Good," I said. "Now you'll help build what doesn't." Within 3 weeks, we tore down the clunky ops framework and rebuilt it lean. And it mapped every process, trashed the busy work, automated what we could, and handed back time to the people doing real work. Overtime dropped 40%. Client retention started ticking upward, fast. Frank kept his word. He let me run things my way. No micromanaging, no checking in, just space and expectations. He wanted results, and I gave them to him. And Cheryl, she stayed in the picture, but far from the gears. She took on presentations, client meetings, handshakes, and smiles. Honestly, she was good at that. Let her be the face. I'd be the engine. Midway through the month, Darwell reached out, not with complaints this time, but praise. They wanted to expand the contract, asked specifically for my team to stay involved. Frank forwarded me the email with a one-line note. "Nice work." I didn't print it out or frame it. I just flagged it, archived it, and moved on. Friday rolled around, 5 o'clock hit, and I shut my laptop, stood up, and walked out the front door like I'd planned it that way all along. No guilt, no mental checklist running behind my eyes. Just done. At home, Logan had parts scattered across the dining table. Some kind of contraption with wires and a plastic motor. He looked up when I walked in. "Hey, you're just in time," he said. "I need help with the frame." I set my keys down and grabbed a screwdriver. "Let's do it." We worked for over an hour, figuring out angles and weight balance. He talked the whole time about school, some kid named Marcus who kept stealing glue sticks, and a girl who beat him at math. When we finally got the motor mounted, he looked up at me and said, "Did they finally figure out how smart you are?" I paused, tightened one last screw, then smiled. "Yeah," I said. "Something like that." 6 months in, I was pulling into the driveway late when my phone buzzed with a text from Frank. "Board just approved bump to VP Ops. Cheryl, put your name forward. Congrats, I didn't get out of the truck right away. Just sat there in the garage, engine off, phone still lit in my hand. It hit different. Not loud, not fireworks, just quiet. This wasn't revenge. And it sure as hell wasn't about a title on a badge. It was about proving I'd been worth more the whole damn time. Not just for what I fixed, but for what I built. Inside, the systems were running tighter than ever. Cleaner, faster, fewer fires, no duct tape solutions. I didn't stay late anymore to keep things from falling apart. They didn't fall apart without me there. The real win? It was walking into the office and seeing people who used to be stuck finally stepping up. People like Isaac, now heading a whole analytics team, leading meetings, making calls, confident in his skin for the first time. I set up training programs, mentorship tracks, cross-team builds, pulled sharp minds from admin, finance, hell, even reception. Taught them what no one taught me, how to lead from wherever you are. Nobody was going to stay invisible just to keep the place afloat. Cheryl and I stayed civil, cordial. We weren't ever going to be close, but we respected the lanes now. She stayed in her wheelhouse, public-facing, polished, good with clients. I stayed in mine, internal, structural, results-driven. It worked. One night, Logan and I were at the park, kicking around a soccer ball, when he stopped and asked, "Do you like work now?" I didn't even think. I said, "I like the part where I get to help other people do better than I did." He smiled and ran off toward the swings, like that made perfect sense. That Monday, I walked into the executive briefing with my new badge clipped to my shirt. VP of Operations. The same folks who used to overlook me now waited for me to speak first. But what really caught me? Isaac, standing at the front, nervous but proud, prepping his first apartment report like it was game day. That's how you change a place, not by burning it down, by building something better inside it.